Hello everyone, welcome to the first video on the channel where I talk about games, doing gameplays on the channel, doing reviews, and even more things that are enjoyable. My name is Corn Games and this is my mini review of Ghostrunner.
Enough! I'll handle things from here on.
Well, first things first is what is Ghostrunner and who is behind the development of this amazing game. This game's developers are One More Level, Slipgate Ironworks, and 3D Realms. This is a cyberpunk action game which was developed using Unreal Engine 4. So when you first start in the game, you are quite literally experiencing your first skill as your character jumps from a massive height, lunging his sword into the neck of his enemy. Kind of a cool way to start the video, isn't it? And a minute or a couple seconds later, you start to notice how like fast paced this game is immediately. And if you're like me, you already have a feeling what this game has to offer you in terms of movement, mobility, and obstacles you encounter. Well, when they first taught me the sensory boost, which is basically your character heightening their senses beyond human capabilities to move very fast and fluently, and you can press it. You can press the button to activate this this ability for it to be like a dash, or you can hold it for a temporary slow time event, which is actually pretty perfect and cool for players to have a moment to think about their next move or attack, because you really will need it when you get to complex levels of fighting different like variant types of enemies. I really enjoy the fact that they let me immediately get into the game without any hold up, really. This is one of those games where you are actually going to need to focus on not only yourself and the environment around you, but your enemies. Like believe it or not, they are pretty fast too, and it really matches the pace of this game. Like, you don't want like slow paced enemies and then you're just over here fast moving at the speed of light. Like, it doesn't match up, and they give you that here, and it's just a really good thing. And so they mix up these enemies and stuff just to make it harder for you.
Oh, that's sweet.
So the projectiles are they're like laser guns. They move pretty fast, so you gotta have your reaction time really good, and the game will progressively get difficult. Speaking of the difficulty, this game doesn't have a set difficulty, but rather an adaptive one. What I mean by adaptive is that the difficulty increases by adding on the multiple encounters you experienced before. So first things first is enemies in the game die in one hit, and you also die in one hit as well. And little by little, you are learning about new enemies that you face, and as you learn, the more complex things will get, such as like dealing with just normal projectile enemies. Now those enemies that have projectiles have like shields on them, and that shield, right, it's kind of like an orb thing that you have to destroy to take off this little blue shield thing that's protecting those enemies. And they'll probably mix them up with shield enemies, jumping attacking ones, and and certain enemies that have like kind of like machine gun lasers that they're shooting at you, so you have to be careful when you're using your sensory boost and like dashing, so you're gonna have to be really aware of that. And if you're thinking right now, is that all there is to the difficulty? No, you will have some like puzzles that will unlock new paths to new abilities. Not every puzzle, you won't experience too much puzzles, but there is a few to get a couple abilities. And going through these obstacle courses can be quite difficult because of how fast things are. The climbing in the game's speed, however, doesn't make this like obnoxious at all. In general, it's pretty fun. So one small thing I'd like to mention is that it's really cool. It's really cool being a badass cyborg ninja. Like, bruh, who wouldn't want that? So one thing to really mention, I really want to mention, is the death scenes are really quick and short, and when you die you can immediately get back to the game. Like, there's no like long dramatic death scene. This is not like Resident Evil or, you know, some other type game where there's a long death scene, because this is a fast-paced game, and having a long death scene will mess up the pace of the game. And I'm glad that you can just get right back on it immediately once you die. And the checkpoints are really good too. There wasn't any bad checkpoint from what I remember. There even are checkpoints during the bosses.
You need to get to the control
during like stages of the bosses. Before I move on to abilities and what your character can do, you get one weapon throughout the whole game. Nothing changes with your weapon. You stick to that sword. So the abilities in this game work pretty well and all fun to use, actually. So first we have, let's talk about the passive abilities, which you got your sensory boost, which is the first basically passive ability that you learn. You also have a blocking like time attack thing, so you basically block projectiles using your attack button, and it's actually pretty useful. And once you block that projectile, you have plenty of time to, you know, actually deal the next strike. There's not too much hold up on that. It actually works pretty well. Gap jammer, which is your grappling hook, which you will use a lot. And also you have sliding, which is another passive ability. I wish it was it's only used really to make you go faster when you're going on a down slope, like when you're descending down like this ramp or something like that. Wish there was like the sliding would be a little bit more useful, like there's more range when you normally use during combat, but that's not fine. So next is energy abilities. These are the fun ones here. These abilities are the ones you get when you go into basically your own mind or program. Sorry, don't know the actual name of this place, but when you go into this place, you solve a weird puzzle and get your abilities. And that's only for I believe 2 of those abilities you need to do a puzzle for. So the first ability you get is Blink, which is really cool because you can kill multiple enemies at a time in one quick strike, which in turn lets you travel through projectiles, which is actually a really cool ability. Next is Tempest, which is basically the force push from Star Wars. Thought it would be a boring ability to use until I realized how much I would need it for a lot of situations that calls for it. Next, Surge is one of the abilities you get after being a boss. This is a ranged attack you get, which is energy coming from your sword, kind of like, you know, Bleach anime style, if you know what I mean. Overlord, in my opinion, is probably my favorite ability out of the 4 that you get throughout the game. And you can control the mind of one enemy, and then they will attack other enemies and vice versa. They usually die quick, but it's enough of a distraction for you to get away from whatever situation you're in, to go after other enemies that are maybe more difficult while you're getting chased by bomb enemies that are freaking annoying and also kind of scary, not gonna lie to you. But yeah, now that's all your abilities, but let's talk about the more interesting and unique parts of messing with abilities is the upgrade. The upgrades are set up in a weird, not too complex at all, Tetris block form. So basically, you choose what upgrade you want for a specific ability and place it on the grid. However, you are limited in the beginning of how much stuff that you can place on that grid. But you have a lot of abilities that you can work with. You can rotate them, mess with them a little bit to get the right placements and the right upgrades that you do want. The last few things I want to talk about is the bosses, story, and collectibles. I'll only be talking about the first two of the bosses you fight, because talking about the rest will lead to spoilers, and I want people to try the game for themselves, because this is a really good experience and I really enjoy the game, and I really want you guys to enjoy it too and having your own experiences. So the bosses in general are just it's lacking, but I'm not gonna hit them like too hard. It's a short game, and like not every boss is gonna be super perfect or super amazing. But the first boss is basically fighting a giant machine, which is kind of difficult because you're first going through you're going through this obstacle. Like this kind of like this obstacle course before you can actually get to fighting it. It's not your regular type video game boss. It's not your typical type of video game boss at all. It lacks the excitement, but it basically testing. It's like, I think this boss is more so in testing your acrobatic capabilities, going through like this obstacle course with these lasers that's trying to hit you, and whatever this ground pound attack that this machine is doing that you also have to avoid. It's kind of weird, but at the same time it is difficult. It does give you some difficulty. Not one of my favorite bosses really, but yeah, I thought that one was a little bit lacking. But the second boss was my favorite of the bosses you go through. The reason being is because it's really interactive and fun, countering a lot of her attacks, and I'd say I enjoy my time doing that than going through an obstacle course for the first boss. So, and like for some reason, like being that interactive with the second boss, like actually fighting her, hitting with my sword, it felt like I was like doing more with the second boss than the first one, than rather than just running around. And I just had way more fun with the second boss than I did the first one. So that's really all I'm gonna say for the bosses. The other ones you can just search up, but it'll be spoilers because they do contribute a lot to the story. And in general, when you search anything about like something with a game or show, you're obviously about to get spoiled about something. But yeah, so let's go into the story. I won't be talking about everything with the story, but just enough for you to be interested. So story is one of my favorite things about games, and I especially love it when they don't always lay it out to you in dialogue. And sometimes you may have to get collectibles and stuff to understand it, like even reading notes and stuff like that. I do enjoy doing that stuff, trying to figure out the story on my own. And I think that's really fun when it comes to games and story. I don't want to nerd out too much on that, but yeah. So the story for Ghostrunner is that you are the Ghostrunner who is meant to protect the people of Dharma Tower from any known threat. And the tower is meant to be a safe haven from the destruction and decay of the outside world. So it's really dangerous out there, and basically we got this tower to protect all the people. The people responsible for building this tower are obviously the great architects and engineers, but out of all of them, the story brings focus to only two people who are the head of the operation and building of the tower and dealing with the people there as well. So, and those two people are Mara and someone very important, the architect. Later on, after building the tower and also the Ghostrunners, yes, there are multiple Ghostrunners, and in the story you'll find out why that is and why you are unique. And also the Ghostrunner, obviously, as I said before, is a cyborg. They're not human. Mara and the architect didn't see eye to eye anymore about the right way to run the tower and its people. So Mara rebelled against the architect, which results in his death and many other citizens of the tower. As you probably know, after watching the cinematic, you realize you have lost against Mara with a cut off arm and thrown out a window of a very tall building. Then after the cinematic, it switches to your character and it seems as though you are repaired, and you also hear someone trying to communicate with you, and it is the architect. The architect tells you what happened, what's going on, who bodied you, or basically killed you, and many more things. Your character realizes it's his duty as the last Ghostrunner to climb the tower to defeat Mara for the greater good. And I love to talk more about the story because there's a lot more that they talk about with the story, but just a reminder, this is a mini review, so I won't be covering everything about the game, but just enough to cover content for people who are interested. Last thing is collectibles. This is one of my favorite parts of the game because you get different colored swords and different styles, and you also are able to get artifacts as well that also tell you about the story and its significance. And you can find these throughout the game except for, I believe, the last level, which is the final boss, obviously. And you can also upgrade your map as well, so you can find it. So to finally wrap up this review, the game is available on all platforms. Not sure for PS5 and Xbox Series X right now. But this game market price is at $30 from my knowledge at this moment upon uploading this video. To share with you my thoughts and experience with this game is that I really enjoy my time playing this game, and it's definitely worth getting and checking it out, honestly. I'm not really trying to rate this game like out of 10 or anything. I really don't want to do that for a mini review because I didn't really cover everything to really give it like a score, but I really would recommend this game to anybody who likes just like fast-paced games. And I don't recommend it to people who don't like fast-paced games. I think this game is just really fun. I love running around, doing all the jumping, having fun with the abilities. It was a really fun time, and the experience was really fun. And there are some levels that I wouldn't play again. Like, I will only play certain levels to get the collectibles, but I would never play the last level. The last level, basically the last boss that you fight, is really obnoxious, and I really hated it. I really hated that level only because like of the raw running part. I don't know what was going on with that. I don't know if it was buggy or something, but I kept dying a lot, and I became severely frustrated with that part. I don't know what it was, but I really didn't like that last level, and I would never play it again. But besides that, I would play this game again, you know, to get the collectibles and just have fun with it, you know, just start, you know, just slashing people, going through other levels that I really enjoy. And I also really didn't talk about the graphics and sound, but to really go a little bit on that, the graphics and sound is actually are both amazing. Really, I didn't really have any problems with the sound bugging out during dialogue or while I was in combat or doing any of my abilities. It was actually just fine, and it sounds good, and I love the music too. I love like the dubstep, and the graphics is really good too. I'm pretty sure it will be different with the consoles because I played on PC. My experience and everything that you're seeing with the gameplay in this video are from PC. This is my gameplay, but yeah, so that's really my experience with the game. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you in the next video. And before that, I do have a sneak peek of the next video that I am working on. But besides that, I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching.
I hear thunder. Time to wake up.